Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Well, I've been Googling Amber Heard a few times a day in anticipation of a book deal. I am an author, so I am pretty interested in that sort of thing. And so when news broke that Amber Heard is formally launching an official appeal, I assumed the book deal is done and dusted. Well, not so. According to Deadline, quote, "At this point, Heard has not paid the $8.3 million bond required under Virginia law for her to conduct an appeal, as Judge Penny Ascarate curtly informed the actress through her legal team on June 24th. While that fee will be required down the line, Heard only had to pay up $500 to begin the appeal process today," end quote. Now, shortly after the announcement, we saw tit-for-tat PR announcements from Heard's and then Depp's marketers. Before we get to Heard's statement, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Like, share, leave a comment. If you're enjoying this coverage, you're welcome to make your feelings felt by hitting the thanks icon. And let's get started. So Heard's statement from her team reads as follows, quote, "We believe the court made errors that prevented a just and fair verdict consistent with the First Amendment. We are therefore appealing the verdict. While we realize today's filing will ignite the Twitter bonfires, there are steps we need to take to ensure both fairness and justice," end quote. Now, I think it's really interesting that in that brief statement, there's a reference made to social media and in particular to Twitter, right? Anyway, this was Johnny's team's response, quote, "The jury listened to the extensive evidence presented during the 6-week trial and came to a clear and unanimous verdict that the defendant herself defamed Mr. Depp in multiple instances. We remain confident in our case and that this verdict will stand," end quote. Now, I must say, I personally disagree that it was either a clear or a unanimous verdict. If you look at, well, I suppose you could say it was unanimous, but within the verdict itself, there were inconsistencies. I saw a news report while researching this particular episode where the headline reads, "Both Johnny and Amber win." Well, that is definitely not a unanimous verdict when it's supposed to be one defamed the other. And so now you have a case where they both defamed one another. Well, that's not very clear then what is actually going on. And if you think that it is very clear what is going on, well, there's been so much uncertainty about how much Amber actually owes in the beginning. The media initially said that she owed 15 million. Then it was 10.35 million, and now it's 8 million. And so even in that simple calculation, there's just uncertainty. Now, if I may, we know that the jury didn't listen to all the evidence, as some apparently fell asleep while others clearly weren't listening when they were told that punitive damages were capped at $350,000. In fact, I think they initially forgot to award any damages at all and then were sent back to do the calculations. Now, I'm also of the opinion, as many following this channel probably know by now, that Depp vs. Heard wasn't a normal civil trial about defamation. It was the witch trial of Amber Heard. Social media was heavily skewed in Depp's favor, to put it mildly, with over 20 billion views on the hashtag Justice for Johnny Depp, and that's on TikTok alone. The jury was not sequestered, even though the trial was live streamed and televised, and there is no way of monitoring whether or how much the jury were influenced by the wall-to-wall misogyny taking place all day, every day around the trial. So if you had a little bit of nuance, if it was some support for Amber, some support for Johnny, then if people went into social media, it wouldn't have been, members of the jury, wouldn't have been the end of the world. But the fact that it was like 99% skewed towards Johnny Depp, it's like, oh, social media believes Johnny's innocent. Okay, I'm influenced. I think so as well. So not only was the social media all heavily biased towards Johnny Depp, it was also inescapable. Hence, the trial was known ultimately as the trial by TikTok. While many, if not most, probably did cartwheels when their stud muffin Burn Her Corpse hero got the verdict they wanted, I think the wider context right now is worth considering. What's going on in the headlines regarding social media, also in high-profile reports and cases. So right now, what is making the news is how the same DC franchise that brought Amber Heard to the big screen investigated an online campaign pushing to release Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League. Now, if you don't know who Zack Snyder is, he's a director who was involved in making DC Comics movies, big movies like Justice League. And of course, Amber Heard appeared in that particular movie. Well, guess what? It was fueled, a lot of the support for this particular director and releasing the Zack Snyder cut of this particular movie, which is an extended version. I think it's available on some paid TV networks right now. I actually watched it quite recently. But what they're saying is that this support for Zack Snyder's cut was largely fueled by fake accounts. According to Rolling Stone, quote, at least 13% of the accounts that took part in the conversation about the Snyder cut, this is obviously on social media, were deemed fake, well above the 3 to 5% that cyber experts say they typically see on any trending topic. So in other words, the amount of fake accounts is sort of 3 times higher than you would normally expect, at least. Now, in separate news, but ultimately not so separate news, Amber's ex, Elon Musk, the richest guy in the world, says he walked away from making a deal with Twitter, the exact same platform that was awash with hate for his ex-girlfriend, because of the large number of bots running the show and also a lack of transparency in that regard. So if you just think about it in a global way, do you think Depp versus Heard and the social media coverage of that, do you think that impressed Elon Musk in terms of wanting to purchase the platform? Or do you think it actually put him off, right? Meanwhile, at the same time, another report has also come out about fake accounts surrounding Depp versus Heard, where 24.4%, that's almost a quarter of hate accounts had been created within 7 months of the Depp versus Heard trial, and one assumes with a specific purpose of spreading a particular bias into social media. I do think it's interesting if there is such a thing as manufactured consent, and if groupthink can be engineered, and if you were one of those who simply kowtowed just because there was a huge majority telling you what to say and what to think, what does that say about your ability to think for yourself? That's a question particularly directed to the true crime community and creators within the true crime community. Was anyone you know immune to this manufactured groupthink? But then, supposedly the jury was. Give me a break. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.